Hello and welcome into Loftside Bantr. On today's show, we're going to have a conversation with Massachusetts Pirates wide receiver and legend Thomas Owens. He'll be on. We had him on just before their final game. We're going to take a look at some Major League Baseball trades that have happened. There isn't a ton out there that have been, season altering or anything else like that. A few trades have been made before the deadline Thursday. We'll take a look at some various news throughout the sporting world, but we'll get into all of that in more detail as we kind of go along. Kind of a generic opening. I really want to get to the interview with Thomas Owens and kind of go into the Mass Pirates and what we'll be doing with them going forward. And then, as always, please go to Podbean, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, follow, like us. We're trying to do some different things with marketing and seeing what works, what doesn't work. So again, every follow and everything else like that is very helpful of what is working. With that, we'll get into the countdown and go right into the show.
We are on in 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hello and welcome into Loftside Bantr. On today's show, we're going to probably have the last Massachusetts Pirates conversation of the season. We got to talk to the longest standing player with the team, Thomas Owens, wide receiver Thomas Owens. So we'll have him on very shortly. I want to point everybody's attention to, we did the first 2 episodes of the NFL team previews, if you will. We did the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. The New York Jets will be coming out shortly. I've been writing all of my notes to be able to do all these shows and get them out a little bit quicker. But the first 2, you can find them on Podbean. You can find them on Apple. You can find them on... I don't think Spotify does video. I may be mistaken, but I believe they don't do video, so you may have to go to one of the other ones to see this. But we did those in videos, and again, working on making the product a little bit better. So again, thank you everybody for their patience and some feedback from everybody, which was great. But we're getting into the time of the year, at least in the baseball season, where the trade deadline happens on Thursday, and everybody's team that is either in it or definitely out of it, everybody's looking to make some sort of move. For a while, it looked like the Red Sox would be sellers. Now it looks like they're going to be buyers. But who's going to go to where, for what price, all those fun things. We'll go over some of the trades that have happened so far. The deals kicked off earlier this month with a trade between the Mariners and the Diamondbacks. The Mariners got Josh Naylor, who was a first baseman that was listed for a whole bunch of different destinations, including Boston, New York, all these different places. So he goes to Seattle, 12 home runs, batting nearly 300. The Mariners are in a good spot. They're 4 games back of the Houston Astros in the AL West. Looking really quick right now, they're a game back of the Yankees and the Red Sox for the wild card spots. So they're in a good spot. They needed to make a move, get a better bat. They were able to upgrade first base. They gave up Brendan Garcia, who is over a 10 ERA for this season. So again, prospect guy that's bouncing out, and Ashton Izzy, who is a prospect that hasn't come up yet. I'm looking at some grades. It's averaging out to about Bs for both sides. The Diamondbacks get the number 13 and the number 16 prospects in the Mariners farm system. Now, some people will say there was a little disappointment of not being able to get higher up in their prospect list, top 10, if you will, but their top 10 is loaded with 100 top 100 overall prospects. The Mariners, I'm talking about, they are loaded at that level. So they're going to continue to grow and be able to put these guys in the lineup coming up. But, for the 2 that they gave up and for the help that they're going to get, they obviously have playoff aspirations. Cal Raleigh, big dumper, is obviously carrying that offense for most of the season. So, it's really good that they're getting another bat. Because the Mariners have 4 guys or 5 guys that have over 10 home runs. Kyle Raleigh obviously has 41, leading the league. Julio Rodriguez at 18, Jorge Polanco, Rowdy Tellez, who was a first baseman that they had, and then they drop off from there. There's another guy in there. I can't see his name at the moment, but nonetheless, they needed another bat. They were able to go out and get one. A good first trade of the deadline, if you will. Next, we had the Mets get Gregory Soto, and the Orioles ended up getting a couple of their prospects. So the Orioles get a B for the grade. It's the exodus of the Baltimore Orioles. They have a lot of great young talent that just hasn't produced this year, not like they did over the last couple of years. There's 11 more potential free agents on this Orioles team, so, I mean, they're going to get rid of some of these guys. Gregory Soto helps bring some bullpen help. Through the end of May, the Mets bullpen ranked second in the majors with a 2.78 ERA. Since June 1st, however, the Mets ranked 27th with an over 5 ERA. So Gregory Soto is going to come in. Is he the answer that's going to, take this team to new heights and give them all of this hope that they're going to win this World Series this year? They're actually going to make their run. They're going to do this, do that. I mean, because they're only a half game up on the Phillies. Unfortunately, I don't think that Soto is that guy, because since coming over, or I mean, at least this season, he's got a little over 3 ERAs, 30-year-old left-hander, gives him some extra, left-handed help out of that bullpen. But since he's come over, he's only pitched in 2 games. Obviously, he hasn't given up many runs. So great, awesome, hooray. But, he had a 3.96 ERA for the Orioles. And again, the Orioles were in last place of the AL East, but he gives them some left-handed bullpen help. Great. It's not going to put them over the top, but it's a start. Probably the biggest trade as of right now was Ryan McMahon going from the Rockies to the Yankees, third baseman. They wanted Suarez from the Diamondbacks, but considering that they just picked up Ryan McMahon, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. McMahon was only hitting .217 with 16 home runs. Suarez had 36 home runs, so I can see where they would be disappointed at that. He's ranked second in the majors in strikeouts while playing half of the games at Coors Field, which is not a good statistic to have. Away from Colorado, he's hit just 189 with 5 home runs. So those are all the negatives for the Yankees picking up Ryan McMahon. However, there are some positive. He's signed through 2027. So if he becomes the solution, he's a pretty team-friendly deal. Not that the Yankees ever cared about team-friendly deals. He's an excellent defender at third base, so you're going to save runs doing that. He has a decent walk rate, and he ranks in the 98th percentile in average exit velocity. Now, I know for all of you that doesn't really mean anything, but it means when he puts the bat on the ball, he hits it very hard. Dumbed down. That's what it means. He might get that leaving Coors Field boost for road numbers and everything else like that, but I mean, I just don't think he was the actual answer at third base. And again, I don't think they gave up a ton for him. They gave up prospects, Griffin Herring and Josh Grosz, Grosz. I have no idea if I said that right, so I apologize ahead of time. But, one of them is in high A, pitcher in high A. The other one is a pitcher, let's see, Herring was a 6th-round pick from LSU last year, so an upper echelon draft pick. He was in single A this year for a 1.17 ERA and 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, 10.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. So again, great numbers in lower minor leagues. So there may be something to this with them getting this Griffin Herring. But again, it's the Rockies haven't been good for a while, and they certainly haven't been good this year. So nobody's here to help. Nobody's really in this trade coming back for Ryan McMahon to help. So, I mean, you knew where the Rockies were anyway. You knew where they were. You knew that they were shit. So that's where they're going to stay. They're trading off all the pieces and getting what they can for them. I mean, it's pretty plain and simple. We had one 3-team trade. Danny Jensen, catcher, used to be a Red Sox, goes to the Brewers. Nick Fortes from the Marlins goes to the Rays. And the Marlins get Matthew Etzel from the Rays. So Brewers get a veteran catcher. He's an upgrade over their backup. So, I mean, he's going to come up, be their backup, be the defensive guy. He's not going to hit for a ton. He generally hits for a low average. He's hitting 204 with 11 home runs this year, which 11 home runs seems like a lot for him this year, which is great. But, I mean, it's something for the Brewers to kind of work with as far as backups and everything else like that. There are 2 games up on the Cubs right now. Very contentious there in that Central Division. So, again, yeah, he's coming in to be the backup. He's not going to come in and change anything for the Brewers. The Rays, who have been kind of a disappointment this year, get a couple of guys who, you know, they're looking for catcher production. And Nick Fortes, 237 with 2 home runs and 10 RBI. Again, not coming in to change the team at all or the fortunes of the team, but they needed some sort of production from that. They had signed Jensen to a 1-year, $8 million deal with, you know, a $12 million mutual option. And again, Danny Jensen making $8 million as a backup probably wasn't sitting well with the Rays ownership, who are notorious for not paying money for anything. So, you know, he comes in. Fortes is going to come in. He's a better hitter, at least for average. Again, we're not talking about life-changing anything else like that. The Reds got Cabrian Hayes, a third baseman, and the Pirates ended up getting shortstop Sammy Staffura and the left-handed pitcher Taylor Rogers. And so the Reds have been one of the, you know, 100 billion teams that have all said, yeah, let's just all go out and get Suarez from the Diamondbacks. You know, obviously they're asking for a price that's a little too much. Hayes comes in. He's basically going to be the defensive guy that comes in at the end of games for Cincinnati, because Novi Marte has been their third baseman. He is having his best season at the plate. He's only 23 years old, but he is a below average to well below average third baseman. He's batting .276, 7 home runs, 28 RBIs. Again, not mind-blowing numbers. And then Cabrian Hayes is .236, 2 home runs, and 36 RBIs. So again, not an offensive powerhouse by any means. But a run saved is a run earned, or is a run scored in baseball. Is essentially the same. And Cabrian Hayes has been a very good third base player throughout his career. He spent 6 seasons with the Pirates so far. The big thing for the Pirates, it had seemed that they had developed a third baseman when Hayes arrived and signed that extension, but the collapse of his bat is really the problem that the Pirates had. Staffura, the shortstop they picked up, the prospect, just missed out on Cincinnati's top 10 prospects. You know, he might be the Pirates' shortstop of the future, giving the Pittsburgh the option to deploy elite prospect Connor Griffin in third base. So that's what I think they're probably thinking. Connor Griffin is the one that they really had at shortstop, but he can play the outfield, which most shortstops and young players end up switching to anyway. But the other thing is, you know, Taylor Rogers comes over. He's got a 2.45 ERA, 34 strikeouts. He's 34 years old, so he's up there. But he's been a consistent arm as of recently. He has he's pitched over 500 innings in the major league level. So, you know, is this somebody that's going to come in and help solidify a Pirates bullpen after, you know, your top-end starters, Paul Skeens, for example, who goes out and pitches magnificently every single time he touches the rubber. But, you know, you need guys that can, A, hit, which obviously Hayes wasn't doing, and B, can control the late innings of games, which Rogers can do. So this may be something that helps the Pirates build a little bit towards keeping somebody like Paul Skeens and everything else like that. The Pirates have a whole bunch of issues. That's the problem. The Pirates have a ton of issues all over the diamond in the bullpen. The one thing that they have is a frontline starter. And you give him no help from anything. A bat, bullpen, nothing. So, again, little moves like this help kind of go in the right direction. I think it was a pretty good trade for the Pirates without giving up something of super value. I mean, you liked Cabrian Hayes for a while, but his bat has completely disappeared. And the last trade, at least that has happened right now, that has come across my screen, has been the Yankees picked up Austin Slater from the Chicago White Sox, another atrocious team, and gave up Gage Zeal, prospect Gage Zeal. Aaron Judge has gone on the DL. Slater is an outfielder. We can confirm that he is an outfielder, a veteran. He's easy to peg if limited set of strengths, but he gives them something to play now with the fact that Aaron Judge is on the injured list. He's not going to replace Judge's production in any way, shape, or form, and he's probably going to be in a platoon role once Judge comes back. So, again, this is a Band-Aid for the time that Judge is missing. That's it. And they gave up a pretty decent piece in Zeal, who seems like he could get to the big leagues. Obviously all these things change, but he seemed like a decent prospect coming out of the Yankees organization anyway. So that's the news that we have. Obviously all these things will change, and then some later episodes will recap some other ones. We'll try to leave these ones out. Obviously we just went over all of them, but let's get over to our message and then get right into our interview with Thomas Owens from the Massachusetts Pirates. This episode is brought to you by the Massachusetts Pirates of the Indoor Football League. Looking for a family-friendly night out that's anything but boring? Experience the high-octane action of indoor football, where every seat makes you part of the game. With tickets starting as low as $18, even front row seats are affordable. Be a part of the excitement. If a game ball lands your way, you get to keep it. How cool is that? And then after the final whistle, stick around for an autograph session with the players for just $15. Don't miss out. This is football like you've never experienced before. Come see the game in the Songus Arena in Lowell, Massachusetts. And for ticket information, go to www.masspiratesfootball.com. Again, that's masspiratesfootball.com. Hello and welcome into Loftside Bantr. And on today's show, we have our weekly Pirates conversation. This week we have Thomas Owens, former Florida International Panther, holds several team records for the Pirates organization. I want to get right into it with you, Thomas. Thank you for being here. What's a moment in your Pirates career that stands out most memorable for you?
It's a lot of memories, a lot of moments. I've been here for a minute, so I would say the biggest thing that I maybe the top of my head is probably the championship year, which is with us winning it.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that you kind of can't take away from a guy, So I would say that might have been probably the best moment since we did get to the championship and win it.
Gotcha. Now that was in 2021, I believe.
Yeah.
Now, how has your game evolved with the time that you've spent with the Pirates? What is something that when you came to this team has kind of changed a little bit nowadays?
The game is a lot slower for me now. A lot slower. To where I'm out there just playing fast and getting to spots and doing the best I can to help my teammates be better and for us to just win football games.
Now, speaking of speed of the game and stuff like that, most people mention that indoor football is a lot quicker. We've talked to a few of your teammates and asked the same question. Is it a lot quicker than what you would normally see on an 11-on-11 for college football, professional football, anything else like that?
Yeah, I think it's a little faster. It's also a little smaller. The field being only so big, and yeah, it's just it's a lot different from outside. So I definitely can believe that. Some people do say that it's very it's a lot faster. Especially when I first got it, I felt like it was a lot faster. But now, like I said again, the game has slowed down a lot for me over the years.
For your position, what are the things that are different for a wide receiver on an indoor game instead of outdoor?
Obviously the motions.
Mm-hmm.
So you start 10 to 15 yards back. Um, I would say the wall. Outside ain't no walls, so
Right.
you don't have to worry about no walls.
Right.
And then I would say that was the biggest two for me personally.
Yeah.
That I feel like a lot of players sometimes have to adjust to is the motion and then the wall. A lot of people don't want to hit that wall. They really don't.
Right.
And the whole motion thing is kind of something that you got to get adjusted to as well. When you first kind of get into the arena game.
So where you're starting 10 to 15 yards back, are you almost at full stride with the snap of the ball right at like that line of scrimmage?
They want you to be. They want you to be, full stride for the most part. And they want you to come in. They want you to come down, full speed. And somehow, some way, get an advantage over the defender.
Now with the indoor league and the Pirates making roster moves here or there, is it tough to build chemistry with people because there's people coming in and out? There's obviously injuries and everything else like that. But is that tough for you to do where there's, it seems like there's a new starting quarterback every year. There seems to be, but does that come with time or is that something that's tough every year?
I think it just depends on, who you are as a person sometimes and as also as a player and a teammate. Anybody that comes in, for our team, especially on the offensive side of the ball, even on the defensive side of the ball, I open with welcome arms, and I always, make them feel as if, you have any questions, this and that. Don't be afraid to ask me because I'm not a guy to, feel as if, well, this is a new guy, this and that, or any of that matter. If you ask any guys that have came in or even in the past years that came in, and will say they didn't know something, I wouldn't have no problem with telling them, whatever that they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it just depends on I think it depends on the player, in my opinion.
Gotcha. Now you saying you've been with the team for 6 seasons now. What does a leadership role look like for you? Obviously answering questions and stuff like that, but how do you do you have a lot of different personalities coming in that either look at the game a little bit differently because it's indoor or anything else like that? How do you take that leadership role with so many different personalities?
Well, for me, I'm not really much of a vocal leader, and that's something that I feel like a lot of people know here and have known. I don't really say much. Like, granted, I say certain stuff. I speak to you, if you have questions, this and that, but like, I'm not much of a vocal leader, but I come to work. I'm very respectful to everybody in the office, everybody on the field, and I try to be the best I can be, year in and year out. So I would say that's the biggest thing when it comes to like how I feel like I lead for how I've been leading for the Pirates these past years. Now
I know there was a story that you had made ESPN's top 10 back in 2024. How does that feel?
It felt good. When I made it, I wasn't shocked, but I was it was a good feeling, because I made it in 2021 as well.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I made it in 2021 on another one-handed catch. 2021 year. So with me doing it again, it was just like, just a good feeling, and I'm very grateful for, the recognition.
Mm-hmm. Now, the one in 2024, you were number one. Do you remember if you were number one in 2021 as well?
Well, I think I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was number one as well with that one.
Now, you originally grew up in Florida. You're obviously in Massachusetts, been in Massachusetts for a little while. How do you like it up here?
I like it later on in the season rather than the beginning, since, it's the sun come out a little bit more at the end of the season rather than the beginning of it. Yeah, it's very cold in the beginning of the season, but, thank God it's indoor.
Right.
You're right. So I really don't kind of get in between the weather, other than obviously moving around in the city and everything else. But it's all right. I think I've adjusted to it. I've gotten adjusted to it, now.
Right. I've spent some time in Florida. I worked for hotels prior to doing this, and
Uh-huh.
I spent time in New Orleans, Florida. I love the warmer weather so much more
Yeah.
than the cold weather. But I grew up here, so I'm supposed to be like adjusted to it at all times. But
Right, right.
did you always play wide receiver, or did you play other positions kind of growing up?
I played quarterback in high school. I played safety as well in high school. And then once I went to college, I went to receiver.
Now you spent all your time at Florida International.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
All 4 years.
for years. What what is it like, kind of playing for a school like Florida International, where it may not be Alabama or LSU or anything else like that, but how do you motivate yourself with a school like that? And again, I'm not saying Florida International is a bad school or anything else like that, but
I understand what you mean.
how do you go about playing for a school of that size and trying to get recognition and stuff like that?
Just coming in, day in and day out, and working my behind off, and just remembering why I'm there. Obviously, the for the education as well. But I worked my whole life and I played a sport, my whole life, to continue to, get to the NFL, and
Mm-hmm.
just because I'm at, let's just say, a smaller school or not the bigger schools, that dream can happen. And that's kind of the mindset I had when it came to going to that school. And they stuck with me throughout, all the, distractions that maybe came along while I was in high school. So that was something that I kind of looked at when
Now,
it came to my school.
now you were first team Conference USA coming out of school. You had signed with the Seattle Seahawks. What is that process like when when the draft process kind of happens? Is there constant communication with teams, NFL wise or whatever, as the draft goes along, or was this something that kind of was out of the blue?
I think it was constant communication with other teams. Now, when it came to Seattle, like I don't think I held a conversation with Seattle, honestly, and after the fact. And then once the draft was over with, that's when I had ended up getting an invite.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, well, that's where I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, my quarterback ended up getting drafted there as well, so it was
Gotcha.
it was a good opportunity.
So is it just if you get other conversations with other teams and stuff, do you just look for what the best situation might be?
Whoever want me, in my opinion, that's how I was kind of looking at it. I'm going where I'm wanted. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
What's something fans might not know about you
uh,
that you want to share, of course?
I feel like I'm a plain book. I don't ain't too much when it comes. I don't know. That's a good question. Like I said, I'm not. I feel like I'm more talkative than maybe people think I am.
Oh, okay. No, that makes sense.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Yeah, maybe.
So how would an off season work out comparative to kind of like in season? What are the kind of the differences between the two for you, at least?
So off season, well, during season, obviously, we have games, we travel a lot, we got meetings, we got practice. So the days are kind of routine, and we kind of do, for the most part, do the same thing week in and week out. At home is more of, obviously, looking for work and stuff like that. So that I would say that's the difference. And then when it comes to football, ain't really much football going on other than training. I feel like for me, I train, year out throughout the year. So it's like ain't really much that's gonna change other than football games and being around an actual team.
Now, if you weren't playing football, is there a different career path that you would have taken?
If I want to play football, I don't think so. That's a good question. I still might probably stay in the sports area because I played 3 different sports growing up. So if it wasn't football, it might have been another sport.
Is there any, like, any interest in coaching afterwards or anything else like that?
Afterwards, maybe. I'm not sure. To be honest, when it comes to coaching, I don't mind. I know. Back at home, I was training kids with a good friend of mine. This past a year ago, I was doing it. So coaching, it's a thought. It's definitely a thought. I'm not sure if it'll happen or not, though. I actually just started a moving company not too long ago, and that's something that I want to kind of pick more up on after the season.
Now we're gonna play this next part for Coach Manas. So this is your opportunity. What is the most underrated part of your game that you want people to know about?
When it comes to football?
Yeah.
The most underrated? Underrated. I feel like I'm quicker than people think I am. Maybe that's what it is, honestly. Because I'm not the fastest guy, but I feel like I obviously I know how to get open. I know how to score a touchdown. So I would say maybe that's what it is. And maybe when it comes to being underrated, I don't think when it comes to my position, I would say I'm quicker than maybe people think I am.
Now with Coach Manas kind of coming in partway through the season, is there a large turnover, a large change that kind of happens with something like that? How do you deal with something like that? What has changed since he's come in?
I feel like for me personally, like I didn't necessarily feel as if anything changed for me as the team. I think some guys may be adjusted better with him coming in, and then Coach Manas is very he's definitely a player's coach. I think he looked out for us, in numerous of ways, and I appreciate him, coming in and taking over and doing what he had to do once he got the job. I do think he's a player's coach. I always kind of said that about him, and that's one thing I did notice about him. He's a very good dude.
So what are the expectations or goals for you the rest of the year?
Just staying healthy. And just finish strong.
Is there anything that you want to be remembered as a Pirate? Now, I realize your career's not over. I'm not trying to say that. But do you want people to remember you as far as fans of this franchise?
I'm just being a good, genuine stand-up guy. That's all. It ain't even got to be about football. Just me. When it comes to just me and being a good person. Outside of football, because I don't just want to be remembered as just a football player. Football is just a part of my life, and when it comes down to how I want to be remembered, that's it. Just a genuine stand-up guy.
Well, sir, I really appreciate your time. I wish you good luck for the last home game of the year, and hopefully we get a chance to do this in person someday. But I really appreciate you coming on with us and spending some time.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys for having me.
All right, have a good one.
You too.
Thank you very much for Thomas Owens and the Massachusetts Pirates for the season. They did not make the playoffs, having struggled the last couple of weeks to find wins. And ownership has already come out and fired Coach Tom Manas, who was here and again, he did what he could with the team that was kind of put there. There were some growing pains going into his tenure, and then obviously a few going out of his tenure. And so there'll be some changes for the Massachusetts Pirates going forward. It obviously was the first losing season in the franchise's history, and several other coaches were let go, including assistant offensive coordinator Mike Tatum, offensive line coach Jordan Mosley, wide receivers coach Marty Gilliard, and defensive assistant Aaron Maxey Penton, who I had a chance to interview, and very sorry to hear about that. But, obviously changes are needed when there's a season that is the first in their franchise, like I mentioned, their first losing season. Offensive coordinator and associate head coach Martino Theis was also let go. His offense averaged 36.3 3 points per game, which again in the Arena League is a norm, but on 5 occasions the Pirates failed to score over 30 points in a game, which for a high octane point scoring league is not enough, obviously. They obviously did some work with a new quarterback going into the season, Kungenji Bahar, who I also got a chance to talk to this season as well. And then the last game of the season, they ended up going with, it's Tua Tagovailoa. Oh my God, I'm gonna butcher this name all everywhere. His name, here we go, is Talia, Taulia, Talia Tagovailoa. That's the best you're getting out of me. And I listened to the pronunciation before recording it multiple times, and that's the best you get out of me. But anyway, it's to his brother. He got the start in the last game, which they fell to the Bay State Panthers 45-30. He ended up throwing an interception, the second play from scrimmage with him, and his first overall pass in the Arena League, or the Indoor League, if you will. So, I mean, he had his struggles, obviously being thrown in there kind of new to all this. He was picked up a few weeks ago, but he did throw a few touchdowns, ran for one. So, I mean, he did show some glimpses, and whether he's here next year or not, unsure. But, you know, there'll be some roster changes, a lot of them going into next year. Again, the Massachusetts Pirates' first ever losing season, and I would like to think it's not because they're on this podcast. That's just me. One thing I do want to discuss, and one thing we'll add to the end of the show, and again, this one might be a little bit shorter, is whether or not, I'm sure all of you know that Ryan Reynolds and Rob Mack, or what used to be Rob McElhenney, own Wrexham Football Club over in Wales, England, whatever. Wrexham had been part of the Football League, so, you know, there's 4 real divisions that participate in the Football League that are full-time, you know, soccer players, football players, whatever. The Premier League, the Championship, League One, League Two. And they have crawled from outside of that to the Championship, so that the division below the Premier League. And it's the first time that they've had a club jump 3 divisions in 3 years, 3 straight promotions, right? Now, whether that's a good or a bad thing, it depends on how you look at it. And kind of having gone all this and realized that, you know, this is a Football Manager. So there's a game out there called Football Manager. For all of you that don't play, it is very addicting. It has been very addicting in my life. I'm shocked that I haven't bought it over the last few years. It's probably because I don't know all that's going on in there anymore. It used to be a lot easier for me to take a team from a lower level. I used to take Boston United or Plymouth Argyle, Exeter City, all places that I have either lived, been around, worked in, whatever. But for a team to come up and to do these back-to-back-to-back promotions is exciting. And again, Wrexham is a storied franchise within the football soccer community overseas. They have been in the top flight before. They have participated in big tournaments. They've never won one, but they dropped quite a bit. With bad ownership comes, you know, obviously if they're not spending money or anything else like that. And once you drop down divisions, you lose a ton of TV money and stuff like that. So, I mean, the problem that they could run into is that they're spending so quickly, so fast. And if they don't get to that Premier League and get the TV money and everything else like that, then they're going to start cutting back. Just, you know, hey, we're not making as much money. We're losing money. We're doing this. We're doing that. And again, I realize they're actors, and I realize they have cell phone money and gin money and Always Sunny in Philadelphia money and movie money and everything else like that. But it doesn't necessarily mean success. You have to find the right pieces and everything else. So that's something that I've noticed a lot of people talking about over the last couple of weeks. They haven't gone out and made a ton of moves for a team that's going into the for the Championship League. And it gets very confusing because you hear like Championship and then Champions League and this and that. The Championship is, like I said, the division below the Premier League. They went out and picked up a few guys, a few of them that played in League One last year, a couple of guys that played in the Championship that are a little bit older, more veterans, including Danny Ward, who's a Welsh goalkeeper, Lewis O'Brien, who played for Nottingham Forest last year in the Premier League. So, again, they're putting together some of these players. But as these players go in and out of these and these teams get promoted or relegated or whatever the case may be, if these clubs are promoted in quick succession like this, a lot of players are playing themselves, as well as they're playing and winning and getting promoted, are playing themselves out of jobs because they may not be good enough for that next level. It's interesting how all this can kind of happen. But I want everyone to pump the brakes a little bit with actor owners and people going out and buying low level, because there's one in Italy now that they're talking about. I think Kelly Ripa is part of the ownership group now, is buying these clubs that are lower levels, spending a bunch of money to get them up and being able to make them more profitable and everything else. But the expectation is there to win. The expectation is still there to keep winning. And it's not that easy. The Championship is the hardest league to get out of to get into the Premier League. It is about a $200 to $250 to $300 million difference in what clubs are going to earn based on TV deals. So it is very competitive. So for all of the things that they've been doing right for Wrexham, and for all of the people that now have the expectation that they're going to keep winning, it's not that simple. So they could run themselves into trouble. Again, I'm sure they have smart people behind the scenes helping them out, deciding who they're going to go get and everything else. It's not just throwing a whole bunch of bodies in there and hoping, well, I hope that we do all right. So something to keep an eye of. You know, it's an excellent show. Welcome to Wrexham. A great deal about the history and everything else like that of Wrexham Football Club. Like I mentioned before, a slightly shorter episode, so that way we can kind of keep posting the team previews. The Jets should be out shortly after this comes out, and then we'll talk about my New England Patriots, and then we'll start getting into the rest of the AFC and everything else like that. So with that said, please go like and subscribe, listen to some older episodes, all the fun things that every podcaster asks you to do, I'm asking you to do again as well. So please email us at loftsidebanter@gmail.com. That's BANTR. So loftsidebanter@gmail.com, loftsidebanter.com to see all the latest news and everything else. And then please visit the YouTube, the Podbean, the Apple Podcasts, all those fun things, again, that everybody asks you to do. I'm asking you to do the same thing. So thank you very much, everybody. No matter where you are, whether it's a good morning, good evening, good night, we will see you on the next episode.